Hello, this is Steve, your YouTube English teacher, with another complete B2/C1 speaking exam. The format's similar, and you've got a good way of practicing here. I'm going to go through each part of the exam and give you some useful phrases you can use for these kind of questions, and hopefully teach you how you should be thinking about these kind of questions. If you want to get top marks in all these different criteria that I will remind you of as we've looked at in previous videos, the plan is know your score in each one, get a teacher to tell you how you're doing, where you need to improve, and practice these exam skills. They all, as I said before, just mean speaking good English, but it's a specific way that you are expected to speak good English in the exam. As we get into our speaking part one, we have some introductory, general, friendly questions about your neighborhood, the area where you live, such as, where do you hang out in your local area? Is there an improvement you'd make to your town? Or, I'm trying to think of actually interesting questions. In an ideal world, I would live, a kilometre from my neighbours, 3 kilometres. Why? Maybe not everyone's like that. Develop your answers. And what we've got here is 2 things you might say to answer these questions with a use of English part 2 gap or gaps. Complete the gaps, testing your little use of phrases that could be used in the speaking. And of course, the first phrase is sort of. If something is sort of abandoned, it means it's not really abandoned, but seems like it's a bit abandoned. Sort of, a nice qualifier you can use, very natural way of speaking. And now, when we're talking about transport, this is something that comes up a lot in speaking. And it's a common mistake to use the wrong prepositions with different ways of transport. You travel on foot or by bike, and those have to be like that, really, because that's the way we say it. Let's move on to part 2, where we continue to talk about your local area. You have 3 photos. You need to compare 2 of the photos and say what kind of people might hang out in these areas and what might they do for fun there. So you've got 4 things to say. Go and practice your speaking part 2 with your photos and answering a question and making a clear point and connecting your ideas together. And you might be saying things like, complete the gaps in these sentences. Think about how they relate to the photos, because these are the kind of typical ideas you're expected to talk about. And of course, you know so many people that there's always company, so many that, and you worry about something, or in a case of living in a village, you don't worry about traffic. Let's move on to part 3. And in this scenario, I'd like you to imagine that, here are some different workplaces that are common places for people to work. And I'd like you to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of working in these different places. Then you may be saying things like, here come the answers. You've paused the video, hopefully. You've thought about, working at home, yes, the good thing, the bad thing. What do you think? Do you agree? And so on. For me, it would be a dream come true. No commute, using your time how you want it all day. I like my home. I'd be very happy to spend lots of time here. But working in a shop, I couldn't put up with the general public. You have to deal with the general public and their complaints and their silly, petty behavior and their foibles and so on. Put up with, dream come true, nice expressions for your speaking. And you've done your speaking part 3. You've spoken with your partner. We know how this works by now. As we move on to speaking part 4, the general topic is work, something you're expected to be able to talk about at C1 level and at B2 level as well, with questions like, I give private classes in English. What private classes could you give? And let's talk money. How much are you charging? Interesting question that we would expect some different answers for in your hobbies, in something that you are particularly good at. Another question, thinking about the type of person you are, employee or boss, and you can develop these answers, of course. And a typical work question that we like to ask in interviews and so on, your greatest weakness, is it that you care too much? Is it that you're a perfectionist, that you work too hard, that you're too honest? That one could actually be typical answers, but develop it. And maybe say things like, Here come the answers. How do we complete these sentences? You have a go at doing something. To have a go at doing something means to try it. Really nice expression for use of English part 2. And finally, a useful phrase for introducing your answers without a shadow of a doubt. My greatest weakness is ladders. A little joke that my partner never liked going up ladders, but then it turned out to be me who broke my collarbone climbing a ladder a couple of weeks ago. And then I've been planning these classes in hospital, as I said before. That is your speaking exam. I hope that was useful. Goodbye. See you next week.